Hello, Patriots, and welcome back to the Patriot Dad channel, where we can discuss current events and modern issues, all while keeping it as real as possible. We're continuing our series of reaction videos to the RNC 2024 speeches, and today we're going to be doing a reaction to Tucker Carlson's speech to the RNC. I've always enjoyed Tucker Carlson. I think he's one of the great thinkers and great interviewers of our time, so I'm really looking forward to this speech. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that during the ramp up to the 2024 election, the Rogue Dermatologist and the Patriot Dad channel are collaborating to bring you another great deal. In remembrance of the attempt on Trump's life, if you follow the link to trumpmug24.com, it'll take you straight here. Scroll down, add it to your cart, go to checkout, enter the code PDMUG, and you'll save 20%. Take advantage of this offer while it's still available. Now, back to the video. So make sure you take advantage of that offer or one of the other offers down in the description. Let's get the video pulled up and we'll start our reaction. That laugh's always so good.
This is wild.
Great crowd though. High energy, just like Hulk Hogan was saying. It's great.
Good to see you.
There's a guy dancing in the front.
Thank you.
Hang on. Let's go back to that real quick.
I feel like I know about. I've been.
Right there in the front row.
Good to
Gray
see
suit.
you. Thank you. I feel like I know about half the people in the room. This is wild. What are you doing? Justin Wells. Thank you, guys.
Calling people out by name.
Okay. Can I just say, Peter Navarro is back.
Yeah,
welcome to Peter Navarro.
He's out of prison.
Suffering the fate that has happened to so many who are friends with Donald Trump. Thank you for having me. I have been to many conventions. I have never been to a more fun convention or a convention with better vibes.
It's because we're getting the old Republicans out, man. The old, stuffy, just gross, corrupt Republicans. And I'm sure those conventions were just boring and awful. So like Tucker is saying here, this convention that is more youthful, except the nominee, he's getting up there, but you know what? He's still Trump. But the youth are starting to get involved in the Republican Party. And I think that's going to be for its betterment. As you can see, much more high energy.
They literally let Navarro out of prison. First of all, thank you. This feels a lot different from what I thought it was going to feel like. I can't hear you, but I know it's something good.
He's such a good sport.
So I watched the video of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania about 50 times. I think I was one of about 8 billion people around the world who watched it. And the more I watched it, the more it struck me that everything was different after that moment. Everything. And this convention is different.
Absolutely. Everything.
The nation is different.
Everything
the world
changed.
is different. Donald Trump is different.
Yep. 100% agree.
He stood up after being shot in the face, bloodied, and put his hand up. I thought at that moment, that was a transformation.
Guys, I can hear you. I love you guys to death. Yes, I can hear him on the microphone. Are you guys having fun? Yeah. Okay. Okay, buddy. But while I'm recording, can you just play a little bit more quietly? Okay? All right. I love you. Thank you. Part of being a single dad. Kids are here. They're great. But sometimes try to record. A little tough. But hey, still has to get done. So if you hear them in the background, that's just the way it is.
This was no longer a man. Well, I think it was divine intervention. But the effect that it had on Donald Trump, he was no longer just a political party's nominee.
And everybody
else. A former
else.
president or a future president.
Yep.
This was the leader of a nation. And,
agreed.
And I think there's a difference. I've spent most of my life in Washington where the president is at the top of the pyramid, everyone wants to be the president. But if you think about it, the presidency comes with great power, obviously. But if you think about it, that is a title that is bestowed by a process of some sort that can be subverted.
And it's rarely earned.
In the end, it does not confer by itself, as no title does, legitimacy.
True.
Just because you call yourself the president doesn't mean that much inherently. I can call my dog the CEO of Hewlett-Packard. It doesn't mean she is.
Poor Carly.
It's true. And you hate to say it, but it is also true, as a fact, that you could take, I don't know, a mannequin, a dead person, and make him president. If you... No, you could.
He's
You
talking
could.
about
I'm just saying, theoretically possible. With enough... with...
Sweetheart. What, buddy? Hey, buddy, I'm talking to the camera because I'm listening to the video and reacting to it. That's why it sounds like I'm just talking to myself. Yes, I'm talking to the people and I'm listening to the video. Okay, buddy? Okay. Thank you.
With enough cheating, that could happen.
Theoretically.
But being a leader is very different.
Yes.
It's not a title. It's
Nope.
organic. You can't name someone a leader. A leader is the bravest man. That's who the leader is.
The person who takes charge.
In all
inspires.
human organizations. This is a law of nature. And in that moment, Donald Trump, months before the presidential election, became the leader of this nation. That was the most obvious.
That is what it felt like last Saturday, for sure.
You know, I think it changed him. He reached out to Trump within hours of it that night. And what he said to me that night, having just been shot in the face, he said not a single word about himself. He said only how amazed he was and how proud he was of the crowd, which didn't run. And I thought two things. The first thing I thought was, well, of course they didn't run. His courage gave them heart. A leader's courage gives courage to his people. And the second thing I thought was, this is the selfish guy I've been hearing about for 9 years? Really? Not a word about himself?
Yeah, the fascist, the selfish guy, people, the worst guy.
And the second thing I noticed, which I don't think anyone has remarked upon in public, but I'm just going to since I don't have a script, like why not? Is that
teleprompter.
He turned down the most obvious opportunity in politics to inflame the nation after being shot. To inflame the nation, which is an opportunity that almost every other politician I've ever met, and certainly his opponents, would have taken instantly.
Yep.
And they would have said, well, what is this? How did he get shot?
They would have exploited it.
How did this happen? And those are real questions that we have to get to the bottom of. But in the moments, the days, the week after the shooting, he did not say that. He did his best to bring the country together. And I thought, this is the divisive figure? This is the irresponsible person? No.
Yeah.
This is the most responsible,
the almost Hitler,
unifying behavior of a leader I think I've ever seen.
Yep. At least in my lifetime.
The question is, where is he leading us?
I just can't with the cheese heads.
And I could go on for hours, but let me just sum it up. I do think the entire point from the famous escalator ride 9 years ago until today of Donald Trump's public life has been to remind us of one fact, which is a leader's duty is to his people, to his country, and to no other. That's the point. That's the only point. And another word for this is democracy. Democracy, in case I
don't like that word.
A little sick of being beaten in the face with democracy on television. Yeah. Actual democracy is the proposition that the citizens of a country own that country. They're not renters, they're not serfs, they're not slaves, they are the owners of the country. And for that to be true, their leaders have to represent them, which is another way of saying they have to do what the people want them to do, or a close approximation thereof. But if they completely ignore what people want, not just 1 year, but generationally, say for 50 years, then it may be, I don't know what, it's not a democracy.
No, it really isn't.
And so I think the entire Trump project, paradoxically, is attacked as an enemy of democracy, is to return democracy to the United States. Hey,
at least power to the voters.
Let's pay attention to what people actually want. And the lack of interest in that question in Washington is something that ultimately drove me out of the city after 35 years.
Makes
Lawmakers
sense.
stepping over the prostrate bodies of their fellow citizens ODing on drugs to go cast votes to send money to some foreign country.
Or to make policy that is going to make a company ship its manufacturing overseas, which is going to create more addicts, which is going to create more suffering. The people in charge of our country for decades have not given two Fs about what's happening to the people of this country, and that needs to change.
Yeah, actually, We've lost more Americans from drugs in the past 4 years than we lost in World War II. Yeah.
Wow.
Our bloodiest war. More than we lost in World War II. Does anybody care? It is pathetic. It is pathetic. And do you hear a single word from Washington about doing anything about it? We know where the drugs are coming from. We know the supply routes. The U.S. military spent billions bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail. You don't see our commander-in-chief suggesting that we use our military to protect our country or the lives of its citizens. No. That's for Ukraine. And it's too much, actually.
He's not wrong.
It's too insulting. It's too insulting. It's a middle finger in the face of every American. It's a very clear
It really is.
statement, which is
Very
unmistakable.
well put, Tucker.
And that is, we don't care about you. And Donald Trump, whatever you say about him,
He cares.
I think he's a wonderful person. I know him well. By the way,
look at the video
the
about
funniest person I've ever met in my life, actually. You got
to look at the video from Kai, his granddaughter, right? He's obviously a different person than the media is portraying him to be. Tucker's right on the money with this.
I know him well. By the way, the funniest person I've ever met in my life, actually. You can't be funny without perspective or without empathy, which is true. But everything else about Trump aside, he actually cares because he's interested in the people who live here because that's his job. A father's job, his duty is to his family. An officer's duty is to his men. A president's duty is to his citizens. And he seems to be the only one who thinks that. And in his choice
does seem to be the
for
only
vice
one.
president, J.D. Vance, he's made that really clear. J.D. Vance, I'll say this about him, is a thoroughly decent man, and I'll just admit it, a friend of mine, one of the very few politicians in Washington who actually is very close to his own wife, which is wonderful to see.
Yeah, that's probably
and
rare.
she's wonderful, actually. But J.D. Vance has views that are closer to Trump's voters than anyone else in Washington in office. Therefore,
and
he's
maybe
the vice president. That's called democracy.
And maybe Thomas Massey.
So I will stop on just one point, and that is what's happened over the past month since the debate, and particularly on Saturday in Butler. I think a lot of people are wondering, what is this? This doesn't look like politics. Something bigger is going on here. I think even people who don't believe in God are beginning to think, well, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
Actually.
Flag folding like an angel. The missed
and I'm
shot.
starting to think it's going to be okay, actually. I do think that. In the day after the midterm elections in 2018,
Definitely more white pill.
Antifa came to my house. The Democratic Party's militia, okay? I was at work. It was obvious when I was at work because it was public. My wife was home alone. They tried to come in through the front door. They terrorized her. She hid in our pantry. It was on television. It was horrible, actually. It was, I'm not whining about it. It wasn't getting shot in the face, but it wrecked our day. And the next morning, we're lying in bed, and the phone rings for my wife, and it's Donald Trump, who's not like a regular text buddy of Donald Trump's. She picks it up. Hello? Susie, it's Donald Trump. And it's coming through. I could hear it. I'm lying in bed. Oh. And the first thing he says is, I'm going to stand guard outside your house. And she goes, oh, it's so nice. And he says, I'll never forget this as long as I live. He says, there's a lot of hate out there. And she said, there is, Mr. President. And then he says, but there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. And we are seeing that love. I don't think it's human love. And I'll just stop with this. I'm not always convinced that I'm on the right side. I've been on the wrong side many times. You'll never hear me say, I'm on God's side, or God's with me, or even I'm with God. I want to be. Not sure I am.
I think we all do.
But I will say this unequivocally and conclusively. God is among us right now. And I think that's enough. God bless you.
Where two believers gather is the church, right? So yeah, I agree. So that was a very interesting speech, Tucker. Great perspective and interesting story about Antifa and his wife, about Trump calling his wife and showing that care. And that's a consistent message we're seeing with all of these speakers, whether it's Kai or Vivek or Tucker, is that Trump is a much more caring and personable person than the media is portraying him to be, which I think is great to hear because the media makes him sound just totally awful. But you know what? He is still a person. He is still a grandfather. He is still a husband, a dad, He's all those things. We need to remember that these politicians, maybe not all of them, but most of them are still human. So keeping that perspective, I think, will be important as we head into the rest of 2024 and into 2025. Thank you to those of you that made it to the end of the video. I greatly appreciate your support. If you want to show some more support and you can afford to do so, please follow any of the links down in the description. You can join the Discord, subscribe with the Subscribe Star. You can take advantage of the 2 offers between the Rogue Dermatologist and myself, or you can use our promo code to order some coffee brand coffee. I like mine black, no cream, no sugar, blends 1 or 2. Those are just my preference. Great black coffee, coffee brand coffee. Get yourself some, use the promo code. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you like it and leave a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon so you can be notified when I upload additional content. If you have a recommendation for a future topic or a video you want to see reacted to on the channel, please leave it in a comment below, as most reaction content on this channel comes from viewer recommendations from people just like you. Take care of yourselves, have a wonderful week, stay safe, and God bless. Go ahead and check out one of the links on the screen now to either subscribe to the channel and see the rest of the videos of the channel, or one of the carefully selected videos that you may wish to see that YouTube has used its algorithm to select for you.